Hey, before we get into tonight's soft spiral of old corn, cracked molars, and edible bark, do me a favor. If you enjoy this kind of thing, slow, sleepy history that smells like smoke and tastes like boiled squash, go ahead and subscribe. Only if you want to. And if you're already tucked in, tell me in the comments. What time is it where you are, and where are you listening from? I always love seeing who's sharing this weird little campfire with me. Now take a breath. Let the light in your room fade a little. Get comfortable. Pull that blanket up. The one that smells like detergent and not fermented deer fat. You're lucky, because tonight we're going back. Way back. Before Columbus, before hot dogs, before snack aisles, zippers, or TikTok food hacks. You're in ancient North America. Maybe it's 1000 AD. Maybe it's 1320. We won't get too specific. There's no calendar on the wall. But your village sits where the sky is big, the rivers are full, and the seasons are both a blessing and a personal attack. Your ancestors have lived here for generations. Your people have names, languages, recipes, and a complicated relationship with corn. But for now, you're just waking up. Congratulations. You're alive. Barely. And the first thing you feel is your back. Specifically, your spine screaming from a night spent sleeping on a woven mat over dirt, or on dried reeds, or on a slab of bark with a suspicious lump under it. Not a mattress. Not even close. Your blanket is fur or hide or some combination of itchy things stitched together with thread made from tendons and regret. And you're cold. Even in summer, the air bites in the morning. You slept inside a longhouse or a pit house or a domed earthen hut where the fire went out hours ago. The smoke lingers. Your eyes sting. You cough once and inhale a lungful of ashes. Good morning. You sit up slowly because if you move too fast, you'll hit your head on the low ceiling, or worse, on your cousin's elbow. You're not alone in here. Not even close. There are at least 6 people still asleep around you. A baby is crying softly in someone's arms. Someone else is snoring. There's a dog in here too, and 2 chickens. You don't even remember who brought the chickens in. Probably your uncle. Again. Your nose wrinkles. Yes, that smell is exactly what you think it is. Your younger brother ate too much dried fish last night, and the consequences are here with you now. You want to step outside for fresh air, so you stand. Or try to. The floor is not level. It's dirt, covered in woven mats that slide just enough to make you question your balance. You take one careful step toward the door and stub your toe on a pot. You say nothing, because if you wake up the baby again, the gods will punish you, or at least your grandmother will. Finally, you step outside. The air hits your face like a cold slap, but it's better than the hut. You stretch your arms up. The sun hasn't fully risen yet, but the sky is pale gray and pink. You see smoke drifting from a few other homes nearby. Birds are awake. The world is stirring. And you? You are starving. Which brings us to the question no one wants to ask, but everyone has to answer first thing every morning. What's for breakfast? Let's lower expectations. You're not starting your day with pancakes or espresso. There's no cold brew, no yogurt parfait, no artisanal sourdough toast. What you have is a clay bowl with something inside it that is technically edible. It's corn. Mashed corn, ground corn, boiled corn, corn that was dried last fall, stored in a woven basket, and rehydrated into a gloopy porridge that jiggles when you move the bowl too fast. It's not sweet. There's no butter, no salt, no cinnamon sugar, no anything. It's corn and water, sometimes a little ash if you're feeling fancy. You eat it with a spoon you carved from a chunk of wood that still smells like tree bark. It fills you, but it doesn't thrill you. And as you chew, slowly, because one wrong crunch and you're in dental hell, you glance down at your bowl and ask the silent question that all your ancestors asked before you. Is this all we have? Yes, it is. Unless someone roasted a squirrel. That's breakfast. And this is just how your day begins. You finish your breakfast, which is to say, you finish swallowing the last few spoonfuls of lumpy corn paste and stare blankly into the bowl, wondering if chewing this many pebbles is normal. It's not actual gravel, probably. Just cornmeal that wasn't ground all the way. That's normal. That's fine. That's life. And now you have things to do. You don't get to scroll your phone for an hour while sipping tea and ignoring the outside world. You don't get to hit snooze or just check something real quick. There's no screen, no morning playlist, no smart home. Just the sound of someone yelling for you from the riverbank because the firewood pile is too low again, and your younger cousin just tripped into the embers trying to toast a grasshopper. So you wipe your mouth with the back of your hand because napkins do not exist, and walk stiffly across the dirt clearing, trying not to step on any sharp sticks, chicken droppings, or human waste. That last one is real. Let's talk toilets. Or, well, the lack thereof. There is no bathroom. There's no outhouse. If you're lucky, there's a designated go over there area past the trees, downhill from the main village. If you're not lucky, someone forgot which side of the hill we're supposed to be using, and now the flies have their own schedule. To relieve yourself, you find a quiet patch behind a bush, say a quick prayer that no one is already behind that bush, do your business, and maybe use some leaves if you remembered to grab some. No toilet paper, no wipes, just plants and some hope. And now that we've started your day with dignity, let's talk about your clothes. What are you wearing? Not much. It depends on where you live, of course. North America is massive, and so are the climate shifts. But let's say you're somewhere in the middle, maybe east of the Mississippi, maybe in a forested valley, maybe where the summers are sweaty and the winters feel like punishment for being born. You're wearing a tunic of some kind. Maybe it's made from deerskin, softened with brains and scraped until it's wearable. Maybe it's woven from plant fibers, dyed with berries, stained with months of use, and slightly damp from last night's rain. It doesn't cover everything. Your legs are bare, your feet are dirty, and if it's winter, you're wrapping yourself in every hide and scrap you can find. If it's summer, you're already sweating through the one thing you own. There is no closet. There is no second outfit. There is just, wear this until it falls apart, and then cry while someone makes you a new one, out of tree bark and despair. Shoes? Optional. And not the fun kind of optional, like at the beach. More like, your shoes are rawhide wrappings, or maybe sandals made from bark, or sometimes nothing at all. Your soles are basically leather at this point. You can step on a twig and barely feel it, unless it's one of those cursed thorny ones that sneak into your heel and make you limp for 3 days. Fashion? Forget it. Everyone looks the same amount of grimy. You are not hot. You are not trending. You are surviving. And now it's time to work. Not work from home, not head to the office, not freelance creative exploration of my passion. Work here means do whatever it takes to not starve to death this winter. Let's start with food, because in ancient North America, You don't get food by opening a pantry. You get it by fishing. For hours. You get it by grinding corn until your arms feel like stone. You get it by walking into the woods and hoping you remember which mushrooms won't kill you. And even then, you're still hungry most of the time. Your job this morning is probably something between gather acorns and help build a storage pit that might collapse and bury us all. You head down to the fields or the river or the woods, depending on the season. In summer, you're weeding and hoeing and getting bitten by bugs the size of small birds. In fall, you're harvesting and storing. In winter, you're mostly just surviving and chewing things slowly to pretend you're full. In spring, you're cold and tired and probably sick of the one root vegetable that still hasn't sprouted. Let's say today, you're helping to store food for later, which means digging holes, big holes, storage pits, lined with bark or woven mats, filled with dried corn, beans, squash, or nuts, whatever you've managed to collect without squirrels stealing half of it. You fill the pit slowly, layer by layer. Sometimes you add ash to keep bugs away. Sometimes you add leaves or grass. Sometimes you pretend this will be enough to keep your family from starving when the snow comes. It probably won't. And that brings us to snacks, not the fun kind. There is no popcorn, no granola bars, no trail mix unless your trail mix is literally a mix of things I found on a trail. But if you're lucky, you have something chewy in your pouch. Maybe a strip of dried venison that's been smoked over an open fire and tastes like burned leather. Maybe some roasted sunflower seeds still in the shell. Maybe a little ball of mashed berry and fat rolled in cornmeal and left in the sun until it's shelf stable, which is a fancy way of saying mildly dusty. This is your energy bar. It's not sweet, it's not wrapped in foil. It is, however, edible. Mostly. You chew it while sitting on a log, scratching your leg because you have a mysterious rash again, and watching a woodpecker destroy a tree with the kind of focus you'll never know. And this is what counts as a break. You sigh. The air is hot. Your hands are sticky. You're still chewing. And this is just mid-morning. You're still chewing. You've been chewing for 7 minutes now. The snack ball in your mouth, some ancient version of pemmican maybe, is sticky, gritty, vaguely sour, and keeps getting stuck in your teeth. You try to swallow, but there's a piece of seed hull, or possibly a twig caught between your molars, and you make that weird face people make when they're trying not to pick at their gums with dirty fingernails. You lose the battle. You pick at your gums anyway. It's that, or let the splinter fester into a medieval-style abscess, and that's a fun way to lose a jaw. Finally, you spit the rest of the snack into your hand and squint at it. Is that a bit of moss? Or meat? It's not always clear. You sigh. You eat it anyway. You're not here for taste. You're here for calories. Now it's time to go find more of them. Because the sun's higher now, and that means one thing: actual food prep. See, in modern life, snacks are optional. You get bored, you eat. You're stressed, you snack. You're watching something, you chew your way through it. In ancient North America, snack means preserve whatever won't rot by sundown, or eat it now before someone else does. So you walk back to the cooking area. Let's call it that. It's a fire pit surrounded by stones, maybe with a clay or bark screen to block the wind. There's no fridge, no ice, no pre-cut fruit cups or vacuum-sealed jerky bags. What you have is smoke. Constant, eye-burning smoke. It gets in your clothes, your hair, your soul. You squat near the fire because there are no chairs, and crouching is the default position of survival. Someone hands you a bowl of something to stir. It smells like boiled turnip and anxiety. It's probably pounded corn mixed with ground squash and whatever was left in yesterday's basket that didn't have mold or bugs. Or, if it had bugs, only the small ones. You stir it with a stick. A real stick. You whittled it yourself, or your cousin did, or maybe it was just lying nearby and passed the sniff test. There's no timer. You just watch for bubbles and hope no one yells at you. To your left, a woman is drying slices of fish on a rack. The smell is intense. The flies love it. So do the dogs. So does that toddler who keeps trying to steal a piece while nobody's looking. You say nothing. This is normal. You're surrounded by the scent of charred fish skin, roasted squash, and the faint, sharp note of whatever small rodent someone threw on the coals for extra protein. You're hungry, but also not. Your stomach is confused. Still, this is food. And food is sacred. You help transfer the dried fish slices into a woven tray and carefully move them to the storage rack under the eaves of your longhouse. The rack is high up, safe from dogs and children, and the occasional wandering opossum. You look up at it, nod once, and pray it survives the next storm. Back by the fire, someone's cracking open hickory nuts with a stone. It's louder than you expect. It sounds like anger. The shells go flying, and you help gather the meat inside, tiny fragments of oily, rich food that will either be eaten today or mashed into a paste and shaped into little balls for winter. That's the thing about snacks here. They're not a fun reward. They're survival in bite-sized pieces. You eat them slowly, in case they have bits of shell. You chew carefully because your teeth are precious. You only get the ones you're born with. No fillings, no floss, no toothpaste, just bone and time. Speaking of teeth, yours hurt. A little. Not enough to scream, but enough to be aware of them at all times. There's a molar in the back that's been bothering you since late summer. You think something's lodged in it. Maybe corn husk, maybe fate. Your grandmother offered to burn some cedar and chant over it. You thanked her and said maybe later. There are no dentists, just relatives with herbs, and sometimes a sharpened antler if things get really bad. You live in constant negotiation with discomfort. It's not always pain. Sometimes it's just tension, tiredness, low-level soreness that settles into your back and neck and fingers until it becomes part of your personality. You stretch, your spine pops, no one notices. Everyone's busy. The fire's crackling, a pot is boiling. A baby is crying again, probably because she put a hot coal in her mouth or ate a pebble for fun. This is daily life. This is normal. And now you have to fetch water. The river's not far, but it's cold out, and the river is colder. You grab 2 clay jugs and start the slow walk downhill. The path is muddy, slightly frozen, covered in fallen leaves and patches of animal droppings that you try not to step in because obviously. As you walk, you think about the day, about winter coming, about whether you should have stored more acorns last month instead of spending that afternoon lying on a rock and staring at the sky. You reach the water and crouch beside it. You fill 1 jug carefully. The cold seeps into your hands, into your wrists, up your arms like a punishment. You fill the 2nd jug, stand, and try not to spill. On the way back up, your feet slip twice. You save the jugs, but not your dignity. By the time you return, your arms are shaking. Someone thanks you, barely. Mostly they just grab the water and dump it into a larger basin for soaking corn, or mixing with clay for pottery, or rehydrating dried beans until they resemble sadness. You sit on a log finally and let your arms rest. This is your break, and now you get to chew another snack. It's a piece of dried gourd. You don't want it. You eat it anyway. You wouldn't last a day, and this isn't even the hard part. The gourd tastes like wood, not wood in a metaphorical sense. Actual wood. You chew it because it's there, and because it technically has calories, and you tell yourself that maybe, just maybe, it'll soften with enough saliva. It doesn't. Someone walks past you carrying a bundle of cattails. You don't ask what they're for, you already know. Food, bedding, kindling, maybe a woven mat if someone has enough time and patience and isn't recovering from a blister the size of a walnut. Everything here is multi-purpose. There is no single-use anything. Your basket holds food, herbs, twigs, clay, small fish, and possibly your pride, though you lost that last week when you tripped into the fermentation pit. That smell still hasn't left your tunic. Anyway, it's midday now. You're not full, but you're not starving either, which means it's time to talk about storage. And oh boy, ancient North American storage. The spiritual opposite of your walk-in pantry. There are no shelves lined with Tupperware. There are no expiration dates. There's no guarantee that anything you've saved will still be edible when you need it. Let's go to your favorite anxiety closet, the underground storage pit. You kneel beside the mound of earth covering it. It's hidden beneath some brush, camouflaged so animals, and more importantly, other humans don't steal from it. Because yes, people will absolutely rob your acorn stash if times get hard. Hunger makes everyone creative and slightly dishonest. You pull back the brush and lift the flat stone covering the entrance. The smell is promising. Earthy, a little smoky, slightly moldy, but not alarming. You peer inside. Baskets line the edges, filled with dried corn kernels, last month's jerky, chunks of dried squash, and a handful of parched gooseberries that are now more seed than berry. You reach for the jerky and pull one strip out. This will be your reward later. You cover the pit again carefully and brush dirt back over the lid. The pit is everything. It's the difference between surviving winter and becoming a sad footnote in someone else's story. You head back to camp and see your aunt smearing something thick and beige onto a rock near the fire. It's nut paste. It smells rich and oily, made from ground hickory or walnuts or acorns. She's drying it into little cakes that'll last for weeks if kept dry. They're not delicious. They're not cookies. But they keep you alive. You sit down next to her and help. The paste is sticky and gritty. It gets under your fingernails and stains your hands. She tells you stories while you work. About the year the river froze early. About the time the deer vanished for a whole season. About the old woman who once lived off nothing but pine bark and prayers. You nod, pretending you haven't heard it all before. You have, but her voice is nice, and the nut paste is warm. Eventually, you lick some off your fingers and call it lunch. Your stomach disagrees, but accepts the offering. A breeze kicks up. The leaves rustle. Someone starts singing near the edge of camp. A soft melody, maybe a lullaby. Or maybe they're just trying to keep the children from wandering into the fire again. You sit back. Breathe in. Breathe out. The day isn't over. But for a second, You're not hungry, and that's something. It's later now. Not sunset, not quite evening, but that soft, weird time of day when everyone starts pretending they're not exhausted and still have energy left. You're not sure what this part of the day is called, but it feels like the stretch right before your knees start locking up and someone says, "We need more firewood." Spoiler, it's going to be you. Before you can move, a small child you're probably related to runs past with half a cattail in their mouth, chewing it like a beaver. You think about stopping them, but it's not your turn to parent today. If they swallow it, they'll just poop out fluff tomorrow, and everyone will deal with it. You sigh, you stand, firewood it is. Now, gathering firewood might sound simple. Go to tree, grab stick, return. Right? Wrong. Because in ancient North America, you can't just walk into the woods like you're strolling through a scented candle commercial. First, you check for snakes, then for wolves, then for anything worse, like other people who might not like you gathering sticks in their woods. Ownership is blurry, borders are flexible, but anger is very clear. So you go where you know you're allowed. The forest is beautiful in that, if I trip, I might die, kind of way. The ground is uneven, roots snake under your feet. The air smells like old moss, wet leaves, and whatever animal just marked its territory 5 minutes ago. You find a downed log and start breaking off branches. Your hands get sticky with sap. One of the pieces slaps you in the face. You taste bark. You spit. You don't stop. Eventually, you gather an awkward bundle and strap it together with some dry vine. You hoist it over your shoulder like someone in a dramatic movie scene, except your back already hurts, and the dramatic part is mostly just you limping home with a spider crawling across your neck. Back in the village, someone's feeding the fire. It's too low. It always is. You dump your wood next to it and sit down like you've just finished crossing a mountain, even though you only walked for 20 minutes. You deserve this break. Because guess what? It's snack time again. You pull out that strip of jerky from earlier, the one you snagged from the storage pit. It's curled at the edges, hard as a rock, and smells like smoke and something vaguely sweaty. You chew, and chew, and chew. You're not entirely sure you're winning. This thing might outlast your jaw, but it gives you something to do with your mouth while your brain tries to forget that winter is coming. And there's still no word on whether the last hunting party caught anything besides a cold. Jerky is sacred here. It's one of the few foods that lasts. You make it by cutting meat into long, thin strips, laying them on a rack over a low fire, and letting them dry for days. The goal is to remove all moisture, all softness, all comfort. Once it's dry enough to double as a weapon, it's ready. It's portable, it's durable, it's not fun to eat, but it beats starving. Just don't try to bite it sideways or you'll lose a tooth. You suck on the end for a while, like it's a piece of prehistoric candy. The salt seeps into your tongue. Your mouth feels like sandpaper, but hey, protein. Across the fire, your cousin is roasting squash slices on a flat rock. You stare a little too long. He sees you. He offers you a piece. You nod, trying not to look desperate. It's hot, sweet, and burns your tongue. You love it. You eat it too fast and cough once, which triggers someone else into offering you water, which is mostly warm and stored in a gourd, but you take it anyway. Snack time here is like that. An accidental potluck of leftovers, fire burns, and whatever someone didn't finish from earlier. No one's really full, but no one's empty either. And that's the balance. The sun starts to dip. Shadows stretch across the clearing. Somewhere in the trees, a bird screams like it just remembered it, forgot something important. You wrap yourself in your cloak, or what passes for one, and settle closer to the fire. Your stomach's not satisfied, but it's quiet for now, and that's enough. The fire pops. A spark jumps. You flinch a little, but only out of habit. You've been burned worse just trying to dig food out of the bottom of a too-hot clay pot. It's evening now, which means it's officially dark enough for every tree to look like a monster and every rustle in the bushes to sound like either a bear or something worse, like a bored raccoon. You're still by the fire, half wrapped in a blanket that smells like wet hide and camp smoke, watching the flames and trying not to fall asleep sitting up. It's too early for sleep, too late for anything useful, and too cold for comfort. So you snack again. Tonight's bonus treat? Toasted corn kernels. Now before you get excited, this is not popcorn. This is not a salty, buttery movie snack with a big red and white bucket and a Marvel trailer playing in the background. This is corn that was dried until it begged for mercy, then thrown into a clay pot over hot coals and stirred until it turned into rock-hard little pellets that sometimes puff and sometimes just sit there, existing. You grab a handful and pop one into your mouth. Crunch. Immediate regret. This one didn't puff. This one is trying to break your molar. You chew slowly, carefully, thoughtfully, like you're eating a handful of pebbles and pretending you enjoy it. And in a way, you do. It's warm. It's slightly roasted. It tastes like effort and smoke, and maybe a little bit of ash. You can feel it sticking between your teeth. You'll be scraping that out tomorrow with a sliver of wood. Someone nearby passes you a piece of dried fruit. You're not sure what kind. Maybe berries, maybe something that used to be an apple but is now just sweet leather. It's chewy, sour, and your jaw clicks when you bite down. But hey, variety. You eat it slowly while staring into the fire like it's going to tell you the meaning of life. It doesn't, but it crackles a little louder, like it appreciates the attention. Around you, voices murmur. Someone's retelling a story about a time the river flooded and washed away half the squash crop. Someone else is complaining about the neighbor who keeps stealing wood. A kid cries, a dog barks. A gourd falls over and rolls down a slope. You lean back. You chew another corn kernel. This one's better. Softer. Satisfying even. Your cousin tosses a handful into the fire and watches them puff like tiny, angry balloons. One pops and hits you in the forehead. You eat it anyway. Because that's what you do. Nothing gets wasted. Even the exploded snacks. Even the weird burnt ones. Even the cracked, over-dried things you pretend to like just to keep from feeling bored of the 3 ingredients your entire food system revolves around. Your life is corn, squash, beans, sometimes nuts, sometimes meat, sometimes something you thought was food until you bit it and found out the hard way it wasn't. But tonight, you have toasted corn and the fire and enough warmth to feel okay. Tomorrow you'll wake up sore. You'll chase something through the woods. You'll lose track of time and maybe forget to eat for most of the day. But right now, you're chewing. Slowly, thoughtfully, like the world is made of hot coals and stubborn roots and whatever's left in your pouch at the end of the day. This is how the night goes. No dessert, no chocolate, no s'mores. Just cracked kernels, sour berries, and the sound of someone next to you snoring into a fur cloak. It's not exciting. It's not glamorous, but it's enough, and your jaw will survive. Probably. The fire is starting to die down. You stare at the glowing logs and think about adding more wood, but you don't move. Someone else will do it. Probably. Or the fire will go out and tomorrow will start colder than usual, which is honestly the more likely option. You shift your weight on the packed dirt. Your tailbone is numb. Your knees are sore. Your neck is stiff. And the snack you just ate is turning into a paste in the back of your throat that you can't quite swallow. You take a sip of warm, slightly smoky water from a carved gourd bowl. It helps. Slightly. The evening routine has begun. Someone is sweeping the dirt floor with a bundle of dried grass. Someone else is poking at a pot that's been bubbling for 3 hours and still smells like fermented beans and mild suffering. The kids are asleep or pretending to be. The dogs are curled up near the embers, quietly farting into the communal airspace. You stand. Your blanket clings to your shoulder, heavy and itchy. It's time to get ready for sleep, which, in this context, means curling up on a mat made of woven reeds and animal hide, lying on your side with your arm under your head, and praying you don't roll into the cold spot where the dew comes in. There is no pillow. There is no mattress. There is no white noise machine or lavender mist or playlist called Rainy Forest Sounds for Emotional Regulation. There is just the crackle of the fire and the sound of someone next to you breathing a little too loud. You lie down. You try to relax. The mat crunches under you. Something pokes your hip. You shift. Something else pokes your spine. You sigh through your nose and pretend it's fine. You try to sleep, but your stomach grumbles. Of course it does. It's not empty, exactly, but it's not content either. It's the kind of hunger that lives in your ribs, not loud enough to demand attention, just present. So you reach into your pouch. One last thing. A little wad of mashed corn and dried blueberries. A tiny cake someone made earlier, pressed together and left to sit in the sun until it hardened just enough to be portable and annoying. You bite into it. It's dry. Really dry. Like someone left this in the smokehouse by accident for a week dry. But it's sweet. A little. You chew slowly, gently, trying not to wake the people next to you, trying not to bite your own tongue, trying to convince yourself this snack is enough to call it a day. And it is. You swallow the last bit, wipe your mouth on your sleeve, curl into your blanket. You listen to the wind against the walls. You hear the creak of branches, a bird call, the soft sniffle of someone nearby. Your stomach is quiet now, not full, not happy, but quiet. You close your eyes. You think, briefly, about what it would be like to live in a world with bread, or cheese, or literally anything soft. But you don't have that. You have corn, and a mat, and your own breath, slow and steady. You're still here. You made it through another day, and tomorrow you'll do it all again. You wake up before the sun, not because you want to, not because you're a morning person. You wake up because someone is stepping over you. Someone else just sneezed directly into your blanket, and the dog decided your foot looked like a great place to sleep. You open one eye. It's still dark. The fire has died down to embers. The air is cold enough to bite your nose. Your shoulders are stiff. Your mouth tastes like old cornmeal and regret. You're hungry. Again. But not in a dramatic, stomach-growling way. It's that low, familiar ache that lives in the background of every day. You reach for your pouch. You're hoping that you remembered to stash something. A nut, a berry, a piece of dried anything. You find a rock. No, wait. It's a bit of hard squash rind you forgot about yesterday. You brush it off, smell it, sniff again just to be sure. It doesn't smell like rot. It doesn't smell like much of anything, really. You chew it anyway, because this is your life. And technically, this counts as breakfast. You sit up slowly, stretching your arms over your head. The longhouse is quiet, except for a few groans, coughs, and someone outside chopping something way too loud for this hour. You pull your hide wrap tighter and crawl out of your spot. Outside, the air is wet. Not raining, but heavy. It sticks to your skin and makes everything feel colder. You step into it anyway because the alternative is staying inside with that smell. You know the one. Sweat, damp wool, meat smoke, and possibly something that died behind the wall last season. You stretch again. Your back makes a sound like a small branch snapping. You don't react. That's just part of getting up now. You shuffle toward the fire circle, where the coals are barely holding on. Someone's already poking at them with a stick. They nod at you, not because they like you, but because you're both awake, and that counts as a social interaction. You drop down near the heat and blow into your hands. They're cracked from yesterday's wood gathering. Your knuckles are stained with ash. You take a deep breath. The smoke hits you like a punch. You cough once, eyes watering, and then pretend you didn't. Someone tosses you a handful of something. You catch it without looking. Roasted sunflower seeds. Tiny, oily, sharp around the edges. You pop one into your mouth and start cracking them open with your teeth, spitting the shells onto the dirt like it's normal, because it is. You eat maybe 30, which equals probably 10 calories. You're still hungry, but you're also used to it. You wipe your mouth with the back of your hand and chew the last seed slowly, trying to make it feel like more than it is. Around you, people are starting to move. Kids are chasing each other. An elder is singing a song you've heard since you were 5. Someone else is carrying a basket of something that smells like boiled pine. You think about asking for some, but you don't. Because it's not snack time yet. It's work time. And work, today, means helping to fix the drying rack. That means climbing up, tying together wooden beams with sinew or bark, and hoping you don't fall and land in last week's leftover soup pit. You sigh, you stand, your knees pop. Someone nearby offers you half a smoked grasshopper. You stare at it. You take it, you chew. It's crunchy, a little spicy, a little smoky. You swallow it whole and nod like it's normal. Because it is. That was your morning snack. And now it's time to climb something made of sticks and string. You wouldn't last a day. And somehow, here you are. You're halfway up the drying rack when you realize your foot is about to slip. You pause, balancing on a beam that's definitely cracked in the middle, gripping the top branch like it's the only thing keeping your soul tethered to your body. Which, to be fair, it kind of is. You inhale. The scent of smoked fish hits you like a brick wall. Everything up here smells like old grease and sun-baked meat. Not in a fun way. Not in a BBQ in July way. More like, something died 3 weeks ago and we're trying to make it shelf-stable kind of way. You tie the beam with bark cord, looping it around the notched pole and hoping it holds. Your fingers are sore. Your legs are shaking. You've had 2 handfuls of seeds and half a bug today, and it's not even noon. You descend like someone who has accepted the inevitability of falling. But you make it. You survive. And now, finally, it's time for the mid-morning snack. You're not even sure what that means anymore. But someone hands you a cake of something. You blink at it. It's small, dark, a little sticky, and smells faintly of smoke and sour berries. You know this one. It's a mash cake. Crushed nuts, dried fruit, rendered fat, maybe a little cornmeal if someone was feeling generous, pressed into shape and left to dry in the sun until it can technically be called solid. You bite into it. It sticks to your teeth immediately. You chew, slowly, carefully. It's sweet. Kind of. Nutty. Definitely. There's a crunch. You hope it's a seed. You don't look. This is probably one of the better snacks you've had all week. You eat it in 4 bites, even though you wanted to make it last longer. Across the clearing, someone's weaving a basket out of reeds. Someone else is splitting open a deer hide to scrape it clean. The air is full of little sounds, tools on wood, firewood crackling, the low chatter of people arguing about whether the ducks are back yet. You wipe your hands on your tunic. There's no napkin. There's no sink. Your hands are stained again. Berries, bark, smoke, and now, mystery paste. Your cousin walks by and gives you the look. We're about to walk into the woods for 2 hours to gather something stupid look. You sigh. You follow. Because it's time to go forage. For what? You're not even sure yet. Maybe cattail roots. Maybe hickory nuts. Maybe that one weird tree that only grows on the north side of the hill and whose bark you can eat if you cook it long enough and pretend not to cry. You walk in silence. The air is cool. Your legs are already tired. Eventually, you find what you're looking for. Wild onions. Small, round, pungent, the kind that make your eyes sting even before you dig them up. You grab your digging stick, a piece of wood you sharpened weeks ago with a rock and too much time, and start jabbing at the dirt. It's wet. You get muddy. Your hands are cold. You dig anyway. You pull out the onions, brush off the clumps of dirt, and stick them in your pouch. The smell clings to your fingers. It'll cling for days. That's okay. You've smelled worse. And hey, guess what? You eat one. Raw, like a snack. Because you're hungry. Again. Still. Always. It burns your mouth in a way that says, this was not meant to be eaten without fire, but you chew through it anyway. Your breath is now legally classified as a weapon, but no one around you has toothpaste either, so it evens out. You gather a few more, tie off the pouch, stand up and stretch. Your back cracks again. That's 3 times today. You should be worried. You're not. You head back to the village with your small prize. You didn't die. You found something edible. And your cousin didn't push you into a hole this time. That counts as a win. When you get back, someone is roasting squash. You stare. You think about asking. You wait. They toss you a slice. You take it like it's treasure. It's warm. Software caramelized on the edges. It tastes like sugar and fire and not being cold. You take a bite, close your eyes, and, for 1 second, you're not tired. You chew slowly. This is a good day. The squash is gone. Too fast. You ate it in 3 bites, even though your plan was 5. You told yourself you'd savor it. You didn't. You inhaled it like someone was going to take it away mid-chew. No one does. But still, that's just how food works now. You sit by the fire again, letting the heat crawl up your legs while the cold air works its way down your spine like an uninvited spirit. You stare into the embers, feeling the sugar from the squash fade already. Your body's asking if there's more. There isn't. You brush your fingers against your pouch, even though you already know it's empty. You left the last onion behind. Maybe for the next person. Maybe because you didn't want to smell like a root cellar for the rest of the day. Either way, you're still hungry. It's not a dramatic kind of hunger, just steady, a gentle gnawing at the edges of your ribs. You ignore it. Again, you're good at that. Around you, the village is settling. A few people are laying out strips of meat to dry in the late sun, thin, translucent cuts that look like fish skin but smell like deer. Probably was a good hunt yesterday. You missed it. You were scraping bark into thread for a net that may or may not hold together. You regret nothing, except maybe the thread. It snapped 3 times. Someone hands you a bit of dried fruit paste. You blink. You're not sure if this is an act of kindness or just someone pawning off the scraps they didn't like. It's dark brown, sticky, dense. You sniff it. Berry. Maybe dogwood. Maybe aronia. Maybe whatever the birds didn't eat first. You eat it anyway. Your teeth sink in like it's clay. You chew slowly. The tartness hits you in the side of the jaw and makes your eyes water a little. You don't let it show. You nod at the person who gave it to you. They nod back. This is your whole friendship. Now you stand again. Because someone's yelling about tubers, you pretend not to hear. You hear anyway. So you go. You're sent with a small group to the edge of the bog. It's wet. It's cold. It's basically the worst place to be barefoot. You are barefoot. You trudge. The ground sucks at your feet. The reeds whip at your legs. You feel 1,000 tiny invisible bugs plodding their route into your socks. Except you're not wearing socks. Because socks haven't been invented here yet. What you have is foot wrap, and it is very much losing this battle. You reach the cluster of cattails. It's digging time. Cattail roots are technically edible. That's the phrase everyone uses. Technically edible, like moss or hope. You dig with a stick. The mud is thick and sucks down into the pit you make, swallowing half your effort. Eventually, you pull out a root. It's long, white, slimy. Smells like something that should live in the dark and stay there. You bite a piece off. It's crunchy, watery. Has the flavor profile of chewed pencil eraser meets pond, but it's calories. So you chew, swallow, pretend it's fine. You gather a few more and tie them together with a grass cord. This is your snack prep now. You're a meal planner in the least glamorous way imaginable. You head back. The sun is lower. The light turns everything gold and tired. When you get back, there's a pot on the fire. Someone's boiling roots with old smoked meat and a few wild greens. It smells not bad, not good, but promising. You toss your cattails in the pile. Your job is done. You sit. Someone throws you a bone. Literally. It's a long, narrow piece of marrow bone that's been roasted and cracked open. Inside, a smear of fat glistens. You scoop it with your finger and lick it slowly. Salt, grease, warmth. This is luxury. This is wealth. This is the best thing you've eaten all day. You close your eyes. Let the fat coat your mouth. Let the fire warm your hands. You wouldn't last a day, but you've made it through another one. And that's the whole point. You are now licking bone fat off your fingers in front of people, and no one cares. That's how far we've come. Because manners, in your world, are based on efficiency. No forks, no napkins, no judgment. If there's grease on your hands, you lick it. If you drop food in the dirt, you brush it off and eat it anyway. And if something falls in the fire, well, that's between you and the spirits now. You suck the last bit of salt off your knuckle and lean back against a log that is definitely rotting on one side, but still mostly sturdy. The pot on the fire is bubbling now. People are gathered around, and the smell of boiled something fills the air. You can't tell what's in it. Could be fish, could be old roots, could be last week's leftovers rehydrated with new lies. You're not picky. A cousin ladles you a bowl with a carved wooden scoop that's been used for 20 years and never once seen soap. You take the bowl gratefully and try not to burn your fingers. The edges are cracked. The soup sloshes onto your thumb. It's hot. You hiss a little and wipe it on your tunic, which now has so many stains, it's basically a historical timeline. You sip. It's good. Not in a restaurant way. In a, my body thought I was dying and this convinced it to keep going kind of way. There's a bit of meat in it. Not sure what kind. Doesn't matter. It's soft. It doesn't fight back when you chew. That's all you ask for. There's some kind of green, possibly lamb's quarters, maybe stinging nettle, but it's been boiled to death, so no risk of pain. And at the bottom, a chunk of tuber so dense it sinks like a stone and takes 2 full chews before your jaw agrees to swallow. You eat the whole thing. Then you drink the broth. Then you lick the bowl. Because, again, nothing gets wasted. Not time, not food, not even effort. When you're done, you pass the bowl back and stretch your legs toward the fire. Your feet are cold. Your ankles are sore. Your knees have been angry since you turned 15. But you're warm now and full, and that in this place is an event worth marking. Someone starts telling a story. It's not a new one. Something about the bear that walked into the cooking hut last season and stole the entire smoked fish rack in one clean motion. Everyone laughs like it just happened. Someone adds a new detail about how the bear tripped on the firewood. That didn't happen. Doesn't matter. It's a good story. You listen. The bowl gets passed again, this time with hot tea made from pine needles and something slightly sweet. Maybe dried rose hips, maybe bark, maybe a miracle. You sip. It tastes like trees. You don't hate it. You lean your head against the log and stare at the sky. The stars are starting to show. The smoke from the fire makes them shimmer. The air smells like pine and meat and dirt and life. And you realize something very important. You're going to have to do all of this again tomorrow. The digging, the chewing, the stretching, the weird snacks made of desperation and tenacity, and what if we boiled this thing we found on the ground? But tonight, you're okay. Your stomach's quiet. Your feet are warm. You're not dead. You're not alone. And the next snack will probably be made of corn. Because it's always corn. You wouldn't last a day. But somehow, you keep going. The fire's still crackling when you wake up again. You weren't planning to fall asleep sitting up, but your body made that decision for you. Now your back is locked in a shape that can only be described as tree stump with regrets. You blink. It's dark again, or maybe still. You lost track of time. Someone stirs nearby. Someone else mutters in their sleep and rolls over onto a basket of dried reeds. A small yelp follows. No one reacts. You stand. Slowly, your knees disagree. Loudly, you shuffle away from the fire toward the edge of the camp where the air smells less like soup smoke and more like dirt and leaves and animal things you try not to think about. It's quiet here. You can hear the river faintly beyond the trees. You can hear your own breath and your own stomach. Yes, again, hungry. Always. You crouch by a low basket and check what's inside. It's a leftover pile of dried slices. Squash, probably. Maybe pumpkin. Hard to tell. They all look like curled old leather once they've been on the drying rack long enough. You grab one. It bends slightly, like it's considering being edible. You put it in your mouth. It's chewy, sweet, smoked. You don't know if the sweetness is natural or the result of some miracle of fermentation. You chew slowly, pulling fibers apart with your teeth like you're a squirrel trying to solve a puzzle made of sadness. You eat another, and another. Then you stop, because if you finish the basket, you'll have to explain where it went. And the answer, into my face, doesn't usually go over well. You sit down on a log that's wet with dew. You eat one more piece of dried squash and stare up at the stars. You try to imagine them as tiny fires in the sky, each one with a group of people sitting around it, chewing on their own snacks, cursing their own cracked molars. You like that thought. You lean back, squash slice hanging out of your mouth like a very slow cigarette, and you let your mind wander. To other meals, other days. You remember last summer when someone managed to trap a beaver and the meat lasted almost a week. You remember the dried apples someone brought from the coast, traded 3 baskets of fish for them, and worth every scale. You remember the time you ate too many unripe berries and swore your insides were trying to revolt. You survived that too. You chew your squash. You swallow. You exist. That's the whole goal, really. Back at the fire, someone's stirring the coals again. They're adding new sticks, getting ready for the next round of boiling, drying, cooking, surviving. It never stops. You never stop. You brush your hands on your tunic and stand. One more walk around the camp before sleep. One more look in the basket in case someone snuck in a treat. One more check on the hanging fish strips to see if any have magically turned into a midnight meal. They haven't. Of course they haven't. But it was worth a look. You slip back toward your mat. Your bones already ache just thinking about lying down. The woven reeds beneath you feel like someone tried to design a bed using only bad intentions and gravel. You wrap up in your hide cloak. Pull it close around your shoulders. Close your eyes. Your tongue still tastes like smoke and squash. You smile, because that's better than bark. Tomorrow, there might be honey. Maybe, if the bees haven't moved again. If the gathering party doesn't get stung into oblivion. If the gods feel generous. You're not counting on it, but it's a nice thought. Sleep comes slow, like everything else here. And somehow, you're grateful for it. You wake up to the sound of something pecking. Not someone. Something. You open your eyes slowly, already annoyed. It's a bird. Of course it's a bird. Pecking at the half-chewed squash rind someone dropped next to the fire last night. You don't blame it. That rind was the best thing to happen to anyone here in days. You sit up. Your mouth is dry. Your shoulders are stiff. Your left foot fell asleep, and your right hip is actively protesting your entire existence. You take a breath through your nose and get a full lungful of cold smoke, stale meat, and that uniquely unpleasant morning smell of 10 people who all slept too close together and didn't bathe. Because bathing is complicated. There is no shower. There is a river. It is cold. That's the entire equation. You stretch and crack every joint you have. Then you check your pouch. Empty. Right. Time to scavenge. You shuffle toward the communal food area, really just a few baskets and hide bundles shoved under a rainproof lean-to. You dig through a reed basket that once held roasted acorns. You find one. Just one. You examine it like a jeweler appraising a diamond. It's old, not moldy, just dry, really dry. You pop it in your mouth. It's bitter, so bitter. You chew anyway. Acorns, by default, taste like sadness unless you process them properly, which takes days. You have to shell them, grind them, soak them in water, ideally running water, and change the soak every few hours to leach out the tannins. If you don't, you get what's in your mouth right now. Astringent, mouth drying, almost like you're chewing bark dust. You swallow. You immediately regret it. You drink some river water and try to move on with your life. Next, you go digging for something better. One of the kids is snacking on a piece of honeycomb. You stare. They see you and immediately turn their back. Rude, but fair. You check under one of the fur wraps. Jackpot. A leftover mash slab. You lift it carefully, brush off the dirt and mystery hairs, and bite in. It's a mix of ground seeds, berries, and what you can only describe as nut mystery. Could be hazelnut, could be squirrel, could be both. You're too hungry to care. It's not amazing, but it's dense and oily and sweet, which is what your brain needs right now. You sit by the fire and eat slowly, like a civilized person. You don't even try to hide how much you're enjoying it. A few other people give you that look, like maybe they should have gotten up earlier. You feel smug. You deserve this, because soon it's chore time. And today's chore is smoking meat, which sounds good until you realize what that actually means. Standing next to an open fire, waving smoke around like an idiot, hanging strips of fish or squirrel or rabbit or whatever, was unlucky enough to get caught yesterday and then not eating any of it. You don't even get a nibble, because this food is for storing, for trading, for someone else, or later, but definitely not for you. Not now. So you tie your hair back, roll up your sleeves, and get to work. The meat strips are already cut and drying. Your job is to move them from rack to rack, adjust the angle so the smoke reaches all sides, and make sure nothing gets too close to the flames. You do this for hours, and while you're standing there, slowly absorbing the scent of burning wood into your skin forever, someone hands you a snack, a single roasted chestnut. You take it without hesitation. Chestnuts are rare. They don't always grow nearby. Someone had to hike to get this. You bite it. It's soft, warm, sweet in a buttery, nutty kind of way. You almost cry. You don't, but you consider it. You finish it in 2 bites and then go back to rotating fish. The wind shifts. Smoke blows directly into your eyes. You squint, cough, and wonder if you're being punished for enjoying the chestnut too much. Maybe. Probably. You sneeze into your elbow and keep working. That's the rule here. Eat when you can. Work while you chew. Don't expect more. But sometimes there's chestnut. And for now, That's enough. You spend the rest of the afternoon smelling like a fire pit. You finish your turn at the smoking racks and head toward the river, not to bathe. Please, let's not pretend you have that kind of luxury today, but to splash your face, rub your hands in the cold water, and maybe, just maybe, rinse off the film of grease and ash coating your wrists. The river is clear, cold enough to make your fingertips ache. You dip your hands in anyway. The current tugs gently at your skin, carrying away bits of dirt, meat juice, and every regret you've had since sunup. You cup some water and splash your face. It hits hard. Your nose runs. Your eyes sting. But at least you feel a little more awake. You sniff. Still smell like fish. Nothing to be done about that. As you stand to leave, you spot something shiny wedged between two rocks near the bank. You kneel. You poke it. You pull it loose. It's a snail. You pause. You look around. No one's watching. You shrug. You pop it in your mouth. Yes, it's raw. No, you're not proud, but it's not your first snail. You've done worse. The texture is exactly what you'd expect, rubbery, chewy, slightly earthy with a hint of moss and mud. But it's protein, it's salty, and it's free. You swallow it like a pill and move on with your day. Back in camp, there's excitement. Someone found bee bread. Not honey, bee bread. It's a mix of pollen, nectar, and fermented stuff the bees pack into their combs to feed their young. It's not sweet. It's not beautiful. It's mushy, sour, weirdly crumbly. But it's packed with whatever your body desperately wants right now: nutrients, energy, and a reason to keep chewing. You get a smear on a leaf. You lick it. It tastes like someone tried to make cheese out of dust and flowers. You make a face. You chew it anyway. Your stomach is grateful. Your mouth has questions. Someone else is gnawing on dried frog legs. Someone else is cracking open bone for marrow. You're all just kind of surviving. Snack culture here isn't about pleasure. It's about speed, utility, opportunism. You don't snack because you're bored. You snack because if you don't eat what's available now, someone else will, and you will absolutely regret it when you're chasing rabbits on an empty stomach later. Speaking of regret, you notice the basket of dried mushrooms. You freeze. Mushrooms are a gamble. There are the good ones, meaty, earthy, dried just right so they snap when you bite them. There are the May ones, chewy, bland, vaguely woody. And then there are the ones that make you see your ancestors and maybe your spleen. You pick one that looks safe. You think. You bite. It's dry. Tastes like a tree branch. A little bitter, but not panic-level bitter. You chew it down. You wait. Your heart does not start racing. You do not hallucinate a deer giving you life advice. So far, so good. You eat another one. Still fine. You call it a win. You sit near the smoke again and sip pine needle tea. It tastes like citrus if you squint hard enough and forget what citrus actually is. You sigh through your nose and watch the fire glow brighter as the sun dips behind the trees. Someone offers you a strip of dried meat. You accept it like they just gave you gold. It's tough. It's dry. It's deer, probably. Smoked with hickory or something that burns like it. You chew until your jaw clicks. You chew until your head empties. And when you swallow, it feels like the kind of victory only people without dental care can understand. This is dinner. This is also dessert. This is also the last thing you're going to eat today, unless you get desperate and eat the fish eyes again. Which, no, hopefully, you tuck into your blanket, wrap yourself like a sad burrito, and close your eyes. You can still taste the mushroom, still feel the ghost of smoke in your nose, still hear someone snoring beside you with the force of a collapsing tree. But you're warm. You're not sick. You're not hungry anymore. And that's a miracle. You wake up with a sore jaw from chewing. That's your life now. Not from fighting, not from yelling, not from anything dramatic. Just chewing, relentlessly. Because every meal, every snack, every edible thing in this timeline seems specifically engineered to make your molars hate you. You sit up slowly, already planning your first bite of something, even though nothing around you looks remotely edible yet. The fire is out. The air is cold. The damp has crept into your clothes again, turning your tunic into what feels like a cold, wet towel wrapped in smoke. You do not thrive in the mornings. You look around. Someone's already up, walking around with a basket slung over their shoulder, looking for whatever didn't get eaten by raccoons overnight. Someone else is swatting flies near the fish rack. You stretch. Something in your back makes a sound like dry bark splitting. You ignore it. You check the pouch by your side. By some miracle, there's half a seed cake left. It's small, hard, slightly furry with what you hope is just pollen. You scrape it clean, pop it in your mouth, and chew it like it owes you something. It tastes like old sunflower, a hint of burnt acorn, and a whisper of maybe a berry. You chew it anyway, because this is what breakfast is now. Biting something until it becomes less dangerous, then swallowing it before your body realizes what just happened. Someone tosses you a cup, wooden, cracked on the rim. Inside is warm water, just water. No herbs, no sweetener, no anything. But it's warm, and that makes it feel fancy. You drink it in silence, pretending it's tea from some far-off market you'll never visit. Your breath smells like sleep and firewood. Your hands still taste like ash. You are ready. Kind of. The morning task today is gathering tubers again, because apparently this is your fate. Endless root collection. Dig, rinse, roast, chew, repeat. You and two others head into the woods. One has a digging stick. The other has a woven sack. You bring optimism and a flat rock for leverage. You dig in silence for an hour. You find one that's the size of your thumb and shaped like a toe. You don't care. You hold it up like it's treasure. The others nod approvingly. You feel seen. You chew it raw on the walk back. It tastes like if a potato and tree bark had a bitter, watery child. You chew it anyway. Back in the camp, someone's drying cattail pollen. Now that's a treat. They scraped it off the heads of tall cattail reeds, tapping it into a basket, collecting golden dust one puff at a time. It's the kind of task that takes forever and makes your arms sore and your nose itchy. But the result? You can bake with it. Or rather, bake in the loose sense of forming it into a damp patty and drying it on a flat rock over the fire until it becomes a crumbly, smoky, pollen-flavored cracker. You get a piece, you eat it. It's dry, like dry, like, I need an emergency sip of river tea. Dry. But the taste? Not bad, slightly sweet, slightly earthy, like someone tried to make cornbread but only had pollen and stubbornness. You chew. Your jaw complains again. You ignore it again. Because honestly, this is one of the better things you've eaten this week. Someone nearby offers you a small lump of tree sap. You look at it. It looks at you. You hesitate. You eat it. It's chewy, sweet, piney, like a weird natural gum. And you know your teeth are going to be glued together for the next hour, but you don't care. It's sugar, and it doesn't have bones in it. That's rare. The fire's back up now. Someone is roasting slices of squash and stringing dried berries for storage. You help for a while, poking at the fire, flipping squash slices like you're pretending to be a chef in a restaurant that doesn't exist yet. And while you work, you get handed a bit of roasted bark. Not a joke, real thing. Some inner tree bark, scraped thin, boiled, dried and toasted, until it can technically be called food. You chew it. It tastes like smoke and tree. Obviously, you swallow it anyway, because this is how you stay alive. And weirdly, you're not even mad about it. You're chewing tree bark, and it's not even the weirdest thing you've done this week. That honor still belongs to the time you ate fermented fish paste that had been buried in a pit for 3 moons. It tasted like salt, regret, and something that definitely moved in your mouth before you swallowed. But right now, it's bark, which means things are looking up. You poke at the fire and flip a squash slice that's threatening to char on one side. Someone hands you a stick with something skewered on it. You blink. It's small, brown, vaguely shiny. Ah, grasshopper. You nod in thanks and take it. You chew it slowly, wings and all. Crunchy, a little bitter. Surprisingly nutty if you don't think too hard. You pretend it's a snack from a fancy market. In some future where people will pay money for this exact thing on purpose, you eat 2 more. The sun is climbing higher now. The warmth is real. Your joints are a little looser. Your brain is slightly less fogged by hunger. And your mouth, well, your mouth is full of exoskeleton, but you're used to that. Across the clearing, someone is grinding corn. It's a rhythm that never stops. Stone on stone, thump and scrape, over and over again. It's like a heartbeat for the village. You can hear it even when you're not listening. You walk over and watch for a minute. There's something hypnotic about it. The way the kernels shatter under pressure. The smell of toasted maize dust rising up in little puffs. The heat of the grinding stones warmed by the sun. Someone hands you a pinch of the meal. You lick it off your fingers. It's sweet, raw, dry as a bone. You cough. Someone laughs. You laugh too, mouth full of dust. Welcome to snack time. You help with the next round, wetting the cornmeal with water and shaping it into small discs. They're not tortillas. They're older cousins of tortillas. Flinty, cracked little patties that are then slapped onto a hot stone and roasted until one side is hard and the other side is slightly less hard. You eat yours straight off the rock. It burns your tongue. You keep eating, because this is one of the best snacks your culture has ever invented. Corn, heat, and determination. That's it. You eat 3. You could eat 10. But you don't, because you're not greedy and there are rules. You sit back, belly not full, but at least quiet. This is peace. Then you're sent to help with fish traps, which is the opposite of peace, because fish traps are messy, wet, and unpredictable. You follow the stream upstream, barefoot, slipping on moss and trying not to fall on your face. The water is cold. Your toes are numb. You reach the trap, a woven funnel stuck between 2 rocks, and peek in. 1 fish, small, twitchy. still alive. You grab it. It does not go quietly. You wrestle it into a basket, along with two others someone else found. One of them is already dead. You try not to think about why its eye is missing. Back at the fire, the fish are scaled, gutted, and split open for smoking. You're rewarded for your effort with the leftover bits, head, tail, and all. You get a bite of cheek meat. It's oily, tender, slightly crunchy from a bit of missed bone. You chew it carefully. You're not sure if you like it, but you're glad to have it. You sit in the sun, fish oil on your lips, and close your eyes. A bee buzzes past. You flinch. Not because you're scared, but because you remember the last time someone tried to steal honey straight from the hive and came back looking like they'd lost a fight with a curse. You decide to stick to seeds today. You reach into your pocket and find a lump of parched maize, corn that's been roasted until it pops halfway, but doesn't quite become popcorn. It's crunchy, tough, like chewing gravel that has feelings. You eat it anyway, one kernel at a time, because that's what snacks are now. Chewy, crunchy, kind of painful, but also kind of satisfying. You're sitting in the sun with fish oil on your face and half-popped corn in your teeth, and for a brief moment, everything feels kind of okay. You're warm, you're fed, you haven't had to chew bark for at least an hour. This is basically luxury. You stretch out your legs and lean back on your elbows. The grass is scratchy. A small beetle crawls over your ankle, and you flick it off with a toe. Someone nearby sneezes into the wind. You make a mental note to not be downwind later. Then you hear it. The word. The dreaded word. Gathering. You groan. Because gathering, as you've come to understand it, is what people do when they want food but don't want to admit they're desperate. It means walking. For hours. Through brush, over rocks, across slippery streams, up steep hills that exist solely to humiliate your legs. It means bending over constantly, squinting at leaves, getting bitten by bugs the size of lentils, and coming back with a basket full of stuff that might be food or might be poisonous, depending on whether you remember last season's warnings correctly. But you go, because if you don't, you won't eat later. And also because someone just handed you a digging stick like it's a baton in a relay of suffering. You march out with the group, heading toward the grove where hazelnuts sometimes hide beneath leaf litter and wild garlic likes to pretend it's grass. You find neither. Instead, you find rose hips. Dry, wrinkled, full of seeds. You pick a handful anyway. You pop one in your mouth and chew slowly, trying not to break a tooth on the hard center. It tastes like sour dirt and sadness, but it's got vitamin C, and everyone's always yelling about how important that is. You pretend it's a candy and move on. You find some sumac berries. You lick your fingers after touching them. Sour, tangy, almost lemony. You grin. It's the closest thing to flavor you've had in 3 days. You pocket a few and keep going. Eventually, you stumble across wild mint. You drop to your knees and start plucking leaves like you've just discovered fire. You crush one between your fingers and breathe in. It's sharp, fresh, green. You eat it straight. The cool hits the back of your throat like a breeze through a cracked window. You eat 4 more. Then you stop, because last time you overdid it, you burped mint for hours, and people started asking if you were cursed. You rejoin the group with your haul, some rose hips, a few sumac branches, a sprig of mint, and one weird mushroom you swear you've seen in soup before. You're not entirely sure it won't kill you, but you brought it anyway because hope is stronger than fear, and hunger is stronger than both. Back at the fire, someone's grinding sunflower seeds. It's a slow process. You watch as they smash the seeds against a flat stone, using a smaller round stone to crush them into a dark, oily paste. You know what this is leading to: seed butter. The ancient version of peanut butter. And by peanut butter, you mean gritty paste that sticks to the roof of your mouth and tastes like someone chewed sunflower shells and didn't tell you. You still love it. You help scoop some out with a stick and smear it onto a flatbread. It's warm, greasy, salty. The paste clings to your teeth and refuses to let go, but it fills you up in a way most snacks don't. You sigh contentedly and lick the rest off your fingers, watching as someone nearby drops a hot stone into a bark bowl to boil water for pine bark tea. You don't even blink. You've seen worse. You've eaten worse. And there's still daylight left. So you grab a small bundle of greens from your pouch, sit by the fire, and start chewing again. Because you've learned something important. The world will never run out of weird things to eat. And somehow, neither will you. You're licking seed butter off your fingers, and your mouth feels like it's been lightly glued shut. That's how you know it's working. You cough a little, not because you're choking, but because you're adjusting to the texture of a snack that doesn't believe in going quietly down your throat. Someone next to you is eating duckweed. Yes, duckweed. Tiny green plants that float on pond water. Think of them as the ancient world's version of kale chips, except they're not crispy, they're wet, and they taste like lake. You raise your eyebrows, they shrug. You try one. It's fine. It's nothing. It's almost flavorless, but slightly vegetal, like someone rinsed spinach in pond water and forgot to drain it. You're not mad at it. You're just confused. But you swallow, because that's the rule. Eat now, question later. As the sun slips lower, you head to the drying racks. Your task: monitor the trays of dried berries, nuts, and meat strips like a hawk. The wind has picked up, which means the air is full of dust, ash, and the smell of someone trying to roast something without watching it. You flip over a strip of smoked rabbit. It's stiff. It's dry. It feels like jerky made by someone angry at teeth. You tear a small piece off and chew slowly. It's salty, tough, but it has that unmistakable roasted flavor, like someone cared about you just enough to hang it over fire for 6 hours. You sigh, then smile. The kid next to you is gnawing on a strip of inner bark, dunking it into warm water between bites to soften it. You consider trying it, but then remember last time, when the bark tea you drank turned out to be half worm. You skip it. Instead, you reach into your pouch and pull out what you've been saving, a piece of candied root. It's not candy the way you know it, no shiny wrapping, no sugar crystals, but it's boiled root soaked in berry syrup and dried in the sun until it hardened into something sweetish and flexible. You chew it slowly. The sweetness unfolds like a secret. You close your eyes. This is rare. This is good. This is dessert. The air cools as shadows grow long. A woman walks by with a basket of boiled tubers, sliced and smeared with bear fat. You pretend not to stare. You absolutely stare. She tosses you a piece. You catch it. Barely. You nod your thanks, mouth already full. The tuber is soft, buttery from the fat, with just enough bitterness to remind you it's still survival food. But you close your eyes and pretend it's mashed potatoes with seasoning. This is the magic of imagination. Someone near the fire is roasting dried corn with a bit of saltwort crushed over it. The smell alone makes your stomach perk up like it hasn't been fed in days. You walk over slowly, casually, like you weren't planning to hover. They notice. They toss you a handful. It's hot, salty, dry. You pop a few kernels in your mouth and suck on them like candy, letting the salt dissolve before you chew. Some are fully popped, some are just cracked. All of them are reminders that corn is the one consistent thing you can count on. Corn is life, corn is dinner, corn is dessert. Corn is your whole food group now. You wash it down with some warm water that tastes faintly of clay from the pot it was stored in. It's not refreshing, but it's not poisonous either. So it wins. You stretch your legs and watch smoke trail off into the purple sky. Someone starts humming a song, not a fancy song, just a soft rhythm about planting and rain and things that may or may not happen. It makes you sleepy. It makes you full in a way no bark or berry ever could. And for a moment, as your head droops and your stomach stops growling, you forget how much you've had to chew today. You just breathe. You just exist. Tomorrow, there will be more snacks, more roots, more bones. More biting into things you're not sure are food until they hit the back of your throat. But for now, you're okay, and that's enough. You wake up with a berry seed in your molar. You're not sure how long it's been there. Could be last night. Could be last week. Could be one of those things that just shows up in your mouth, like how spiders end up in shoes. You work it loose with a fingernail and flick it into the dirt. Breakfast time, which, in your world, means it's time to stand up, make a bunch of unpleasant sounds with your knees, and go forage for whatever didn't crawl away in the night. You shuffle over to the lean-to and poke around the food bundles. Someone left a few roasted tuber slices near the coals, wrapped in bark and still faintly warm. You take one. You eat it cold. It's soft, bland, and slightly wet, like it's given up on life, but hasn't quite spoiled yet. You chew it anyway, because this is how your day begins, with chewy sadness and a side of survival. Someone near the fire is mixing ground nut paste with berry mash. They call it snack balls, but that's generous. They're more like dense lumps of whatever we had left. You watch them roll the paste into small, gritty spheres and dust them with crushed, dried fish skin. You eat one. It's not bad. Actually, it's kind of great. Fatty, sweet, salty, vaguely fishy, but in a way that makes your body say thank you, even if your taste buds say, please, never again. You pop another in your mouth and keep walking. Over by the drying racks, someone is slicing green stalks into thin strips and threading them onto a stick for roasting. It's cattail shoots. You grab a piece and nibble. It's juicy, a little fibrous, like eating celery that had a stressful childhood, but it's edible, it's moisture, it's nutrients. You chew and chew and chew. You swallow, you sigh. Someone nearby is crushing choke cherries. You wince a little. Choke cherries are not subtle. They're tart to the point of violence. But if you mash them right, pits and all, and mix them with dried meat and fat, they become something legendary. Pemmican, the original power bar. You watch as they pack the paste into small, greasy bundles and wrap them in bark. You get a taste. One bite, It's heavy, chewy, sweet, sour, salty, all at once. Like a weird meat brownie that's trying very hard to be nutritious and succeeding in the most aggressive way possible. You love it. You also feel slightly attacked by it. But you finish the bite and lick your fingers. You walk toward the edge of camp where someone is sun-drying thin slices of lichen. Lichen. Yes, that crusty stuff on rocks and trees. Turns out, if you boil it enough times, it stops being poisonous. Mostly. Then you dry it. Then you rehydrate it. Then you eat it. You chew a piece. It tastes like boiled paper and bitter moss, but it fills your belly. So it wins. You sit near the drying rack and stare at the fire for a while. Someone hands you a small pouch with something rattling inside. You open it. Pine nuts. Actual pine nuts. Tiny, oily miracles that took hours to harvest and crack from their resin-packed cones. You eat one. It's rich. It's warm. It tastes like every good decision you've ever made in your life. You eat 5 more and immediately feel like royalty. You smile. For a second, you forget how rough the ground is under you. You forget the cold air, the burned tongue, the bark bits between your teeth. Because this tiny moment of flavor and warmth and enoughness is rare. You close your eyes and lean back against a woven mat that smells like dried grass and old socks. You rest. The world keeps turning. Your stomach stops growling. And for once, your jaw doesn't hurt. You wake up again, not because of danger or drama, but because someone nearby is crunching too loudly. You blink groggily and turn your head. It's one of the kids. They're chomping on what looks like a flat gray puck the size of your palm. You squint. Ah, ash cake. Not made of ashes, obviously, just cooked in them. A bit of ground corn, water, maybe mashed squash if you're lucky, slapped onto a flat stone and buried under hot ashes until it becomes something halfway between a biscuit and a roof shingle. You sit up and hold out your hand. They toss you a piece. It's warm, dense, slightly charred on the edges, and still dusty with soot. You blow on it, bite down. Crunch. It tastes like smoke, flour, and stubbornness. You chew slowly, carefully, because ash cakes have a history of hiding pebbles and charcoal surprises. You crack a tiny grit between your molars and just accept it. You don't have the energy to spit. Someone offers you a dip of wild plum paste to spread on the rest. You smear it across the top of your puck like you're icing a prehistoric cupcake and take another bite. It's better now. Still dry. Still slightly grim. But better. You watch a group get ready to head into the woods. They're going to check the ant hills. Yes. Ants. See, the trick with ants is not catching them one at a time. That's too much effort for too little payoff. Instead, you find a busy nest, dig fast, scoop the larvae and eggs, and toast them. High protein, low dignity. Someone comes back with a bark tray of toasted ant larvae. You get a scoop. You try not to look too closely. You chew. It's weirdly buttery. Software. Not crunchy like you expected. More like tiny scrambled eggs that taste like leaf. You swallow and tell yourself you've had worse. Because you have. You head to the water line next. Low tide means exposed river weeds. Someone's already harvesting them with a stick and a lot of swearing. You take a turn pulling slimy green strands from the rocks. It's gross. It's wet. It smells like disappointment. But once it's dried and salted, it becomes chewy, stringy snack rope. You hang some to dry, then go check the trays of leftover nuts. A few hickories, one black walnut. You need a rock to open it. You whack it 3 times before it gives up. Inside, a nut that tastes like a bitter almond and sawdust had a baby. You eat it anyway, because it's food. Someone has made travel cakes again. You eye the basket. They're small, crumbly things made from ground amaranth, a little dried meat, and whatever berries didn't rot this week. The texture is like old cornbread and gravel, but they keep for weeks and don't go soft even in the rain. You take one. You chew. You immediately regret not taking 2. As night falls, you nibble on dried apple slices someone traded for 2 fish last moon. They're rare, sweet, paper-thin, chewy in the best way. You ration them like gold, eating 1 slice every 15 minutes just to make the flavor last. You fall asleep with your hands sticky, your teeth sore, and a full belly for once. It's not comfortable. It's not easy. But it's enough. You've made it through another day of prehistoric snacking, and you're still here. You're chewing on a dried apple slice and wondering, quietly to yourself, why it tastes like happiness. It's soft, tangy, a little leathery, and just the right amount of sweet. You close your eyes while it dissolves on your tongue because you know this is the last one. There are no more slices in the basket. Someone else traded the rest for sinew thread and didn't tell anyone until after the deal was done. You feel betrayed, but only for a second. Because it's nighttime now, and the fire is low, and you've still got a chunk of something stashed in your pouch. Something special. A surprise. You reach inside. You pull out what looks like a flat disc of mystery. Pressed fruit leather. That's what someone called it anyway. It's really just mashed berries and pulpy fruits, sun-dried on a hide until it becomes a chewy, sticky sheet of survival-grade jam. You take a bite. It tastes like choke cherries, crab apples, and maybe some squashed service berries that snuck in by accident. There's also a bitter note, like the person who made it was mad at life and put too many skins in. You chew anyway, and keep chewing. This is your dessert. You lean back against your sleeping mat and stare at the stars. You're thinking about how far food has come, and how far you are from anything resembling a snack aisle. You're also wondering when the last time you had salt was. Real salt, not saltwort, not salty pond weeds, but actual salt you can't even remember. Someone nearby is boiling roots in a hide-lined pit oven. It smells earthy, like potatoes that went to therapy. You hear the steam hiss. You get up slowly, your knees creaking like old baskets, and wander over. They hand you a root chunk on a stick. You nod in thanks. You bite in. It's soft, hot, slightly sweet, with a hint of bitterness that hits after the third chew. It could be wild sunchoke, could be some kind of lily bulb, could be poison, but probably not. You keep chewing. You hand the stick back. And then, without warning, someone gives you squirrel jerky. Squirrel jerky. It's not a joke. It's chewy, stringy, and a little gamey, but it's smoked just right, and the seasoning, if you can call it that, makes it taste like wood and desperation. You eat the whole strip, because you know it won't come around again for a while. Back near the coals, someone is poking hot rocks into a bark pot, heating a broth made from fish bones, wild greens, and ground seeds. You sip a little. It's hot, gritty, and surprisingly filling. You sit down. You close your eyes. You've had squirrel, root, bone broth, pressed fruit leather, and 3 types of regret today. And honestly, that's a good day. You curl up, wrap your hide blanket around your shoulders, and try to forget the taste of ants. Try to forget the feeling of bark between your molars. Try to sleep with a belly that's still slightly full for once. The wind rustles the trees. Someone farts in their sleep. You breathe out slowly. You're okay. You're still here. And tomorrow, you'll do it all over again. You wake up with squirrel jerky breath and a cramp in your neck. That's just how mornings go now. You stretch. Something pops in your back. Maybe a rib. Maybe a regret. You sit up and look around. The fire is a sleepy pile of coals. The sky is the color of wet bark. And someone already has a digging stick in their hand, which means you're behind on root duty. You rub your face, smack your cheeks a little, and walk over to the food bundle. There's a flat cake wrapped in leaves. Leftover. It's cold. It's sticky. It's acorn mush. You groan. Acorn mush is what you eat when there's nothing else left. It's like someone tried to make porridge from bitter wood and bad memories. But someone worked hard leaching those tannins out, boiling the nuts over and over again until the bitterness went from mouth assault to just mildly aggressive. So you eat it. You use your fingers and scoop it into your mouth. It's smooth, bland, slightly nutty. The texture is like if pudding and clay made a truce. You don't love it, but it's warm in your belly, which is the real point. As the sun climbs, you head to the oak grove with the others. It's gathering season again. You look for fallen acorns, the fat ones, the ones that haven't been claimed by beetles or squirrels or mold. You fill your pouch. It's slow work. Your back aches. You find one that's perfect, smooth, heavy, uncracked. You bite it raw. Immediately regret it. Tannins. So many tannins. Your mouth puckers like a vacuum. Your tongue feels like it's been sandpapered. You spit it out and vow to never try that again, even though you probably will. Later, someone boils that same acorn in 3 changes of water and makes a mush cake out of it. You eat that. You chew slowly. It's better. Almost edible. You pretend it's cake. It isn't. But you pretend. Back at camp, someone's making a new batch of oven bread. That's what they call it anyway. It's mashed root and ground seeds, packed into a palm-sized disc and buried under hot rocks. You wait while the fire pit smokes like a volcano trying to quit. Eventually, they pull it out. Charred edges, soft center, still steaming. You burn your fingers pulling a piece off. It tastes like smoke, starch, and ambition. You eat it too fast and burn your tongue. You don't even care. You've had worse. You watch someone crush dried berries into powder with a flat stone and mix it with warm water. It turns into a thick purple paste. Sweet, tangy, sticky. You dip a bit of bark bread into it and take a bite. Now this dash. This is dessert. You close your eyes and pretend you're in a kitchen. Then you remember what kitchens are. Then you remember you're sitting on a log with sticky hands and half a mouse trap under your foot. Still, dessert. You smile. Later, someone shows you a wasp nest. You take one look and back away. Nope. Not again. Not after last time. But someone brave cracks it open and pulls out roasted larvae from inside the comb. They eat it like popcorn. You sigh. You try one. It's not bad. Soft. Nutty. vaguely meaty. But the texture makes your brain sit up and scream a little. Still, you swallow, and that's what counts. You're still chewing the wasp larva. It's long gone, swallowed 3 minutes ago, but your mouth hasn't recovered emotionally. You stare into the fire, hoping it will burn the memory off your tongue. Across from you, someone is stirring swamp greens into a pot. The smell is challenging, like boiled socks and pond water with a hint of garlic. You're told it's nutritious, full of vitamins, great for winter prep. You believe them. You just don't want to eat it. You do, of course, because refusing food is a luxury you don't have. They scoop you a portion into a hollowed-out, gourd bowl. You blow on it. You sip. It's slimy. It's bitter. It tastes like mud pretending to be soup, but it's warm, and it keeps you alive. You sip again. Later, someone finds a stash of dried mushrooms, thin, brittle things with weird ridges and even weirder smells. You chew one. It squeaks between your teeth. The flavor is sharp, almost peppery, almost meaty, almost like you shouldn't be eating it. You look around to see if anyone else is hallucinating. No one is, yet. You relax and chew slower. You follow it with a pine ash wafer. Yes, you heard that right. Ground seeds, mashed roots, and a dusting of clean pine ash for flavor and preservation. It looks like something scraped off the bottom of a cooking rock. You bite in. It's dry. It's smoky. It tastes ancient. Like you're biting into time itself. You eat the whole thing and chase it with a gulp of warm water that tastes slightly like whatever was cooking in the pot last night. Maybe fish, maybe bark, maybe regret. By mid-afternoon, someone comes back from the woods with a grin and a bulging pouch. Wild onions. You nearly cry. Because flavor is rare. And these little bulbs are sharp, sweet, pungent miracles. You bite into one raw. You breathe out, and the air smells like a campfire gave up and let garlic win. You eat 2 more. Your mouth sings. You thank the forager with the last of your pressed berry paste. It's a good trade. You mash the onions into your travel cake and eat it slowly. For once, it tastes like a real meal. Like something you'd make on purpose, not out of desperation. You sit in the shade and feel satisfied, which almost never happens. Someone hands you a roasted frog leg. You stare, you pause, you take it. It's crisp on the outside, soft on the inside. You chew. It tastes like swamp chicken. You finish it. Because now you've eaten a wasp larva, a swampweed stew, a raw onion, and a frog leg. And somehow, your stomach hasn't declared war. Yet. You lie back on a mat of woven reeds. You listen to the fire crackle. Your hands still smell like onion. And for a moment, you are full, tired, grateful, and just a little bit worried about what tomorrow's snack might be. You're lying on your back, breathing through your mouth because your hands still smell like frog. That's just life now. You've accepted it. You've accepted a lot, actually. Chewy bark slices, cold mush cakes, raw bulbs, and foods that crunch when they shouldn't. Survival has stripped you of expectations, but not hope. Because today, someone cracks a bone. You sit up fast. It's a long bone, probably deer, maybe elk, still fresh from last night's haul. Someone grips it with both hands and smashes it against a rock. The crack is sharp, echoing through the air like a promise. Inside is the treasure. Marrow, rich, fatty, warm. They scoop it out with a sliver of wood and hand you a chunk. You don't ask questions. You don't breathe. You just eat it. And for a second, the world slows down. Because marrow is magic. It coats your mouth in a way that's almost indecent. Creamy, warm, alive. You lick your lips. You feel stronger. You feel human. Later, someone boils the rest of the bones for broth, and the smell alone makes your stomach lean forward like it's trying to time travel. You sip it out of a clay cup. It's greasy, deep, the kind of flavor that only comes from patience, fire, and desperation. You close your eyes. You let it warm every crack inside you. Then you're called to the root pit. Because of course you are. Winter prep waits for no one. The root pit is a wide hole lined with dried grass, bark, and layers of tubers, yampa, kamas, maybe some turnips you didn't know were even edible. You help pull them out, check for rot, then pack the rest back in. Your reward? A raw kamas bulb. You chew it slow. It's starchy, sweetish, like a gummy potato that forgot how to be interesting, but it fills the corners of your hunger. You tuck 2 more in your pouch for later. After that, someone digs up a pine cone. Yes, an entire pine cone. They roast it over the coals, crack it open, and pull out the seeds. Tiny, precious. Each one takes effort. You get 3. You eat them with reverence. They taste like the forest whispered a secret and then dared you to chew it. You grin. By dusk, someone starts heating stones for cooking again. Pit cooking. Slow cooking. The kind of cooking that takes all day and rewards you with something that still tastes like bark, just warmer. They toss in roots, dried meat, greens, and a handful of dried berries, then cover it with wet grass and dirt. It steams. It waits. And you wait. So you chew on a strip of leftover dried salmon. It flakes in your mouth like sawdust that's been trained to behave. You like it. Sort of. And then finally, the pit food is ready. They dig it out with sticks, steam pouring into the evening air. You get a piece of meat, some soft roots, a clump of green that tastes like overcooked spinach's cousin. You chew slow. You close your eyes. This is dinner. No seasoning, no plate, no fork. Just heat, hunger, and silence. You scrape the bottom of the pit with your fingers and find one last berry that didn't disintegrate. You eat it. You smile. You lie back. You survive another day. 1 marrow bite, 1 pine seed, and 1 strange swamp stew at a time. You survived the pit stew, which is impressive, considering it had 3 ingredients you still can't identify and 1 that might have been moss. You sit up slowly, stomach heavy in that ancient, slow-digesting way that makes you feel full, but also slightly threatened, like your body is still deciding whether to say thank you or file a complaint. You stretch. Your back pops. Your knees click. Your jaw makes a weird noise from all the chewing you've been doing since sunrise. Then someone casually mentions that today's snack is fermented. You freeze. You nod politely. But inside, you scream. Because fermented in your world doesn't mean yogurt or sourdough. It means fish heads in a bark bowl that's been buried in the ground for 4 days. or maybe 4 weeks. You're not sure. No one ever writes it down. The bowl is brought out. People gather around. There's anticipation, excitement, some kind of twisted pride. You lean forward, eyes watering slightly from the smell. It hits you like a slap made of ocean rot and old socks. Someone offers you a spoon. You hold it like it might bite you. You scoop out a chunk. It jiggles. There's a piece of eyeball staring back at you. You close your eyes. You put it in your mouth. You chew. It's soft, sour, slippery, funky in a way that should be illegal. Like meat and vinegar had a fight and no one won. You swallow. You nod. You don't cry. Someone claps you on the back. You feel like you just passed a test you didn't study for. They offer you more. You decline. Respectfully. Instead, you take a piece of dried sweetgrass and chew on the end to get the taste out of your mouth. It helps. A little. You sit near the fire and try to remember what fresh food tastes like. Someone tosses you a strip of bark. You chew it, because of course you do. The sky turns purple. Night crawls in. You pull your blanket tighter and stare at the stars. You think about that fish head. You think about the eyeball. You wonder what else counts as snack out here. The answer, apparently, is ants again. Someone finds a hill full of big, fat red ones. They scoop them up in a bowl, roast them, and pass them around like trail mix. You eat 3. Crunchy, spicy, a little too zesty. Your lips tingle. Your stomach rumbles. You sit very still. Eventually, the rumbles pass, and you're okay. Not great, not relaxed, but okay, because this is what food is now. Not comfort, not joy, but survival with a little seasoning of chaos. You lie back on your mat and press your fingers to your belly. Still here, still breathing, still chewing your way through history, one mildly traumatic bite at a time. The next morning starts with frost on your toes and the faint memory of fish head gelatin haunting your dreams. You sit up and see your breath. There's a tiny patch of snow on the woven mat next to you. Someone else is still asleep, snoring into their elbow, wrapped in a blanket that smells like smoke, mud, and possibly onions. You stretch, you groan, you reach for breakfast. Breakfast today is snow. Literally. You scoop a little pile of it with your bare hands, then someone tosses a handful of mashed berries into it. You mix it with your fingers, and now it's a slushie. You eat it. Cold, sweet, a little gritty from dirt, but it wakes you up better than any sunrise chant or bark tea ever could. You get a second scoop. You don't question it. You crunch through the snow toward the smoke trail curling up from the pit oven. Someone's making surprise stew. You already hate it, not because of what's in it, but because no one ever knows what's in it. Surprise stew is the end-of-week meal. It's everything, all of it. The root ends, the dried scraps, the greens that are one day from slimy and whatever was caught, dropped, or accidentally stepped on this morning. You peek in. You see frog legs, some yellow mushroom bits, definitely duckweed, and possibly a few chunks of yesterday's pit bread soaked until they disintegrated into a starchy swirl. Someone ladles you a bowl. You nod like this is normal. You drink, you chew. It's warm, bitter, random, like soup dreamed up by 5 different people who refuse to talk to each other. But somehow, it works. And it fills you up, and your hands stop shaking from the cold. So you keep eating. Later, someone brings out smoked frog skin. You're told it's a delicacy. You're also told it crackles when it's done right. You take a strip. You sniff it. It smells like wood smoke and pond memories. You bite. It does crackle. Then it turns chewy. Then it sticks to your teeth in a way that makes you feel like you're being hunted by your own snack. You chew through the panic. It's actually kind of good. Savory, salty, slightly weird. But you're into it. You eat 2 more strips and feel a little wild, like you could wrestle a goose and win. By afternoon, someone's making nut cakes. Actual nut cakes. Ground hickory, mixed with dried berries, mashed squash, and a little rendered fat, formed into patties and roasted on a flat stone. You wait for them like it's your birthday. You get one. It's warm, crumbly, rich. It tastes like someone finally tried to make a snack with love. You eat it slowly. It's the best thing you've had in 3 days. You lick your fingers. You close your eyes. And for the first time in a while, your stomach feels peaceful. You curl up near the fire, wrapped in your blanket, belly full of frog skin and mashed nuts, and drift into a sleep that smells faintly of smoke and onions. You wake up with a sore jaw and a pleasant memory of something that actually tasted good for once. The nut cake. It wasn't a dream. It was real. You reach into your pouch, hoping, just hoping. Maybe you tucked one away last night. You didn't. You find a bit of mashed squash wrapped in a leaf. It's warm from your body heat and slightly squished. You eat it anyway. Software mild, comforting, like someone whispered, "You'll be fine," into a vegetable. You stretch, creaking like a frozen door, and head toward the center of camp, where the day's snacks are already being discussed in low, serious tones. Someone has pine sap. Your eyes widen. You get closer. It's sticky, gold, hard in places where it's been boiled and cooled. Pine sap candy. The prehistoric lollipop. You take a bit the size of your thumbnail and put it in your mouth. It's strong, piney, resinous, like sucking on a tree, but in a good way. It clings to your teeth and makes your tongue tingle. And for the first time in days, your breath doesn't smell like fermented pond scum. You're grateful. You're sticky, but you're grateful. Next, someone passes around a bark tray of roasted crickets. Not fancy ones, not seasoned, just dry, crackly, and very leggy. You take a handful. You try not to look. You pop one in your mouth. Crunch. It tastes like toasted grass and silence. You eat another, and another, until you realize you've just eaten 6 bugs and kind of liked it. Someone notices. They nod with approval. You feel like part of something now. Cricket unity. Later, someone roasts cattail hearts. You didn't know cattails had hearts. You just thought they were those fuzzy plants by the water that looked like brown corn dogs. Turns out the inner stalk is edible. You bite into one. It's tender, juicy, mild like cucumber, with a hint of smoke from the fire. You smile. You eat 2 more and feel hydrated for the first time in forever. Then, someone brings out birch syrup. Actual syrup, tapped from trees, boiled until it thickens into something dark, glossy, and slightly smoky. They drizzle it over a flat cake of ground amaranth and roasted squash. You get a slice, you bite, and everything slows down. Sweet, nutty, software. Just the tiniest hint of bitterness to remind you this is still survival food. You close your eyes and chew in silence. You could cry, but you won't, because you're holding more food and you're not about to waste the energy. You finish the cake, you lick your fingers, and for 1 whole hour, you don't feel like you're being punished by your diet. You lie down next to the fire and pull your blanket over your legs. The wind picks up. The smoke shifts. But your belly is full, your teeth aren't sore, and there's pine sap on your lip like some kind of badge. You fall asleep smiling. You wake up with your cheek stuck to your forearm, a smear of pine sap still welded to your bottom lip, and the distant sound of someone hacking through a frozen gourd with a stone. You sit up slowly. It's cold, sharp cold. Nose biting, toe numbing. Why do I live like this cold? You wrap your blanket tighter and shuffle over to the source of the noise. Sure enough, someone's chopping open dried gourds to get at the stringy insides. Not for seeds, not for water, for food. The gourd strands, tough, stringy, fibrous, are scraped out, boiled down with ash, and mixed with leftover squash bits to make what they're calling morning ropes. You're not sure it qualifies as a snack. You're also not about to argue. They hand you a handful. It's warm, wet, smells like sour vegetables and damp wood. You chew. It's chewy, really chewy, like floss that came from a compost bin. You nod like it's fine. You pretend you love it. You swallow slowly. Someone brings over a smoked fish skin roll. Now this dash. This is promising. It's a thin strip of dried fish skin, curled and tied into a roll with a twist of grass. It's been cured with salt and smoke and maybe something else no one wants to talk about. You unravel it, bite the edge, and pull. It snaps like jerky, then softens on your tongue. You chew, salty, oily, crunchy in the parts where scales still cling to the edge. You eat the whole thing and immediately feel stronger, also slightly fishier, but stronger. Next, someone mashes sunflower seeds into a paste using a flat rock and a lot of muscle. It takes hours to get enough. Eventually, it turns into a gritty, oily lump. They call it sunflower grits. You eat it with a splinter of bark as a spoon. It's nutty, rich, weirdly delicious, and stuck in your teeth before you're even halfway through. You keep eating anyway. Then someone says it's time to unbury the fermented roots. Everyone groans. You groan louder. Because you remember. You remember the last time. They pull up a basket from underground, wrapped in bark and sealed with clay. Inside, root mash. It's been in there a long time. Fermenting. Thinking about its choices. It smells like wet socks and vinegar. You get a scoop. You hold your breath. You eat it. The flavor hits hard. Sour. Spicy. Wrong in at least 3 ways. Your jaw tightens. Your eyes water. You swallow. You do not speak. You are at peace with your suffering. You chase it with a snowball. Because that's all you have. Crushed snow and stubbornness. You sit by the fire and let the cold wind dry your eyes. You've eaten bark spoons, fish skin spirals, stringy gourd noodles, and root mush from the grave. And you're still here. still chewing, still pretending this is fine. You lie down, you curl up, you close your eyes, you dream of salt, and maybe, just maybe, something crunchy that doesn't look like an insect. You wake up with your tongue stuck to the roof of your mouth, and for a second, you wonder if you died in your sleep. Nope, just dehydrated. Again. You sit up and reach for the water pouch, slosh a little into your mouth, and gag slightly because it tastes like smoked leather and whatever leaf was floating in it yesterday. Still, you drink. And then, someone hands you a triangle of something flat and pale. You blink. "What is this?" you whisper. They smile. Cattail flour bread. You stare at it like it's gold, because this is real food. Almost. Sort of. The pollen from cattails, mixed with whatever other ground seeds you had lying around, plus some mashed tubers and maybe a handful of acorn flour. It's baked on a hot rock. It smells like bread's prehistoric cousin. You take a bite. It's dry, a little sweet, nutty, crumbly in that don't inhale or you'll choke kind of way. You chew slowly, thoughtfully. You love it because it isn't fish or ants or fermented mystery goo. It's bread, and even a crumb of bread feels like a feast. Later in the day, someone brings out a brick of dried gooseberries. Yes, a brick. Sticky, sour, dark red, so dense it bends the light around it. It's been pressed into shape using nothing but weight and time. You pry off a corner, you chew, and your face folds in half, because it is tart, like your whole mouth got pickpocketed. But once your eyes stop watering, you kind of want another bite. You eat more. Now your tongue is confused, but awake. You thank whoever made it, even though they're already trying to trade it for firewood. Then someone asks the fateful question, "Who's hungry for boiled moss?" You pretend not to hear, but it's too late. Boiled moss is here, and it's not even the tasty kind. It's that soft, spongy woodland moss that tastes like wet carpet and forest fog. You get a scoop in a bowl. It jiggles. You sip the broth. It tastes like leaf breath and mineral tea. You chew a bit of moss. It squeaks. You smile politely. You do not go back for seconds. And then, to top it off, someone proudly hands you a pinch of meat powder. You raise an eyebrow. It's ground dried meat, pounded with fat, maybe some berries, definitely some mystery. You lick your finger, dip it in the pouch, and taste. Savory, salty, dry as sand. But, honestly, not bad. It sticks to the back of your throat and reminds you of beef jerky that's been through a dust storm. You eat a few more pinches and wash it down with broth that tastes like boiled shoe. You lie back against a log, watching the clouds drift past, belly full of things that aren't quite meals, but also aren't poison. You're still here, still chewing, still waiting for something soft. Spoiler. There's nothing soft coming, but there might be something sweet. Eventually, you fall asleep with a belly of moss water and your last bite of gooseberry brick tucked safely in your pouch like edible hope. You wake up with moss in your teeth and an ache in your side from sleeping on a crooked root. Congratulations, you're still alive, and it's snack time. Again. You roll over and dig into your pouch, praying that maybe, just maybe, your hand will find something nice. It doesn't. It finds a soft, warm lump that smells frog-like. You pull it out and stare at it. Dried frog liver, thin, flat, crisp around the edges, dark brown like bark that gave up. Someone tells you it's a delicacy. You nod because you're too tired to argue. You nibble the corner. It snaps. It's salty, meaty, slightly crumbly. Tastes like someone smoked a penny. You chew. You get through it. You swallow. You do not cry. The good news is someone's roasting sedge roots nearby. They smell earthy, sweet, almost like parsnips if you close your eyes and forget everything. You grab one off the hot stone and bite in. It's soft, a little stringy, sweet in that I've been underground for a year kind of way. You eat two. Your jaw stops hurting for 5 whole minutes. It's the closest you've felt to joy in days. Then someone hands you a maple bark strip. Yes, bark. Maple, though. It's been scraped thin, dried, and smoked until it's chewy like leather, with a faint sugary edge. You tear a piece off with your teeth and chew like you mean it. Sweetness. Real, honest-to-earth sweetness. You close your eyes and savor it like it's the last piece of candy on earth. Because it basically is. Someone tells you it helps with sore throats. You immediately pretend you have a sore throat and ask for another. They give you a second strip. You chew slowly, thoughtfully. You try not to cry. But then, oh then, someone shouts something about surprise egg bundles. You freeze. You turn slowly. They're holding a leaf packet tied with grass string. It's steaming. They unwrap it. Inside, tiny eggs. Quail, maybe. Soft-boiled in a hollowed-out gourd with herbs and wild onion bits. You take one. You pop it in your mouth. It melts. Warm, creamy, oniony, slightly herby in a way that makes you want to believe in magic again. You eat 3. You reach for a 4th. It's gone. You live with the heartbreak. Someone gives you the leaf the eggs were wrapped in. You lick it. No regrets. You spend the rest of the day chewing bark, dreaming of egg bundles, and pretending the frogs aren't watching you eat their friends. You lie down that night with sap on your fingers, sweet bark in your teeth, and a new respect for sedge roots. And once again, you're still here. Still hungry. Still chewing your way through history. You wake up to the sound of thunder. Real thunder. Not the distant kind that rolls politely through the sky like a sleepy drumbeat, but the kind that sounds like the clouds are breaking dishes and yelling at each other. Rain's coming. You sit up, your blanket damp already, your knees aching like old wood. Someone tosses you a pouch as they run past with an armful of drying fish. "Eat before it floods," they yell. Inside the pouch, cattail pollen cake. It's yellow, crumbly, vaguely round. Smells like dry grass and dreams. You take a bite. It's soft, a little sweet, dusty like the inside of a bee's pillow. It sticks to your tongue in a way that makes you cough and immediately regret inhaling while chewing. You learn the hard way. Pollen is not a beverage. Still, you finish it. Because it's warm, and because it might be the last dry thing you get today. The clouds open. The rain falls hard. Someone hands you a leaf packet with something greasy inside. You peek. Bare fat snowball. Yes, that's what they're called. They're little spheres of tallow rolled with dried berries and crushed nuts. High-calorie survival bombs. Perfect for cold days and long hunts. You bite one. It melts instantly. Rich, oily, slightly sweet. Your whole mouth feels like it's been wrapped in fur and kindness. You chew slowly. You don't talk. You just sit and let it warm you from the inside out. Someone else pulls out fermented berry strings. Yes, again, with the fermentation. It's berries, mashed, twisted into cords, left to dry in bundles and hung in a smokehouse for weeks. The result? Sour, chewy rope candy from another universe. You bite a length, it stretches, then snaps. It's tart, funky, berry-ish, but also a little footy. Still, you keep chewing, because it gets better the longer it's in your mouth. Kind of like forgiveness. Later, someone finds a stash of smoked eel. They hand you a piece. You hold it up. It flops slightly. You bite in. It's salty, rubbery, oily in a way that coats your fingers and your soul. You keep chewing. You chew for a long time. You start questioning your choices. Then, halfway through the strip, the flavor turns sweet and earthy, like the eel remembered it had dignity. You nod. You eat the rest, and now you're full of pollen cake, bear fat, fermented rope, and smoked swamp snake, and the rain is still coming down in sheets. You crawl under a lean-to of woven bark, curl up with your knees to your chest, and hold your pouch of remaining snacks like a baby bird. You're not happy, but you're full, and you're dry. Sort of. You close your eyes to the sound of thunder and someone quietly farting next to you, and you drift off with the taste of swamp eel on your breath and warmth in your belly.